Submarines are warships that are built to be able to submerge themselves in water for long periods of time and are equipped with internally stored oxygen and are typically armed with torpedoes. The most well-known Union submarine was the USS Alligator, invented by Brutus de Villeroi. It was lost at sea during a storm. There were a total of more than 20 submarines for each side during the Civil War.
Submarine. We all live in a yellow submarine. Yellow submarine. Yellow submarine. We all live in a yellow submarine. Yellow submarine. Yellow submarine.
Hot air balloons were useful to the general so that they could get a higher view of the battlefield. The Union established an official air balloon corps founded by Chief Aeronaut Thaddeus Lowe. Balloons were used at the First Battle of Bull Run and the battles of Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville, but the Confederates lacked the resources to make balloons.
We're soaring, flying. There's not a star in heaven that we can't reach.
Some of the models of pistols used during the Civil War were the Colt model of 1860, which was a 6-shot and was the most commonly used, the Colt Dragoon revolver, the Remington 1858, the Smith & Wesson Model 1, the Star revolver had 2 triggers but wasn't very popular, and the Elgin Cutlass pistol. Pistols were more commonly used by the generals rather than the privates. All cavalrymen carried a revolver.
Bang, bang into the room. I know you want it. Bang, bang all over you. I'll let you have it your way. A minute, let me take you there.
Torpedoes were mainly used by the Union, but the Confederates liked to use them more. They are very similar to mines. They were often found floating on the surface of water.
When a fire starts to burn, right, and it starts to spread, she goes.
The most popular model of grenade was the Union's Ketchum grenade. This type of grenade was an explosive that was thrown like a dart. The grenades came in 1, 3, and 5-pound models. The explosives didn't always work as well as they wanted them to. At the siege at Port Hudson, Louisiana, the Confederates used blankets to catch the grenade and then threw them back at their attackers.
Inside, catch a grenade, oh yeah. Throw my hand on a blade, oh yeah. I jump in front of a train, oh yeah.
The horses were used on both sides very effectively. They were used as transportation for supplies and men. The horses would be used to haul an entire wagon full of artillery, food, or wounded men. The cavalry soldiers served as the eyes and ears for either side of the Civil War to spy on the enemy. They would travel a total of 30 miles per day scouting out for enemy troops.
Yeah, y'all know what it is.
I'm coming at you like a dark horse. Are you ready for?
Both sides in the Civil War used rockets because they remembered how well they had worked during the Mexican-American War. A variety of rockets were used on either side during the war. The Confederate rockets were manufactured in Galveston, Texas, and later in Houston. New York battalion rockets could fly up to 3 miles but were never used in combat.
Somebody call 911. Shawty fire burning on the dance floor. Whoa. What's a quad? Kingston. Let's go. Hey. Red one.
Popular sword models used during the Civil War include the Model 1832 Foot Artillery Sword, Model 1832 Dragoon Saber, Model 1840 Light Artillery Saber, Model 1840 Army Non-Commissioned Officer's Sword, and the Bowie knife. The Bowie knives had blades as long as a man's forearm and were carried by many Civil War soldiers. They were invented by Jim Bowie. Swords weren't the best weapons. The soldiers used them mainly to cut rope and cannon fuses, but they were occasionally used to defend themselves and their cannons.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as
Cannons played a major role in the Civil War and were manufactured and used on both sides very frequently. There were several different types of cannons used in the war. The cannonballs ranged anywhere from 3 to 24 pounds. During this war, they worked on developing the cannons by improving their accuracy and increasing their range.
I came in like a wrecking ball. I never hit so hard in love.
Mines were developed by the Confederates, and the goal of a mine was to sink enemy ships. They were used by both sides in the war and were often duds. The Confederates sunk many of the Union ships. The success of mines led to the creation of land.
This girl is on fire. This girl is.
Railroads were a major factor in the Civil War. By 1861, there were 22,000 miles of track in the north and 9,500 miles in the south. After just 2 years in 1863, the Confederate railroads began to fall apart and were in bad shape. The Confederacy failed to recognize the importance of the railroads, so many of the railroad workers moved north to join the Union war efforts. The Union used the railroads very effectively to ship artillery, soldiers, and resources during the war. However, the South's railroads began to suffer because they ran out of iron to replace worn-out parts and fuel because the North put a blockade on their ports, so they couldn't get the imports they needed from England.
Rain, blow the whistle when I go. Let her blow, let her blow, long and loud and hard and.
These warships weren't invented during the Civil War, but this was the first time that the ironclad saw widespread use. The use of iron rather than wood to build ships began to spread worldwide at this time because the iron was more protective and it didn't catch fire easily. The Confederacy made a number of ironclads by adding a protective layer of iron to the outside of a regular ship because it was much easier and cost less. The USS Merrimac was one of the most well-known ironclad ships used during the Civil War, and it fought against the CSS Monitor off the coast of Virginia.
Rock the boat, don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat.
Some of the rifles used during the Civil War include the Springfield rifle, the Lorenz rifle, the Colt revolving rifle, the Smith carbine, the Spencer repeating rifle, the Burnside carbine, the Tarpley carbine, and the Whitworth rifle. Rifles were very commonly used, and they helped contribute enormously to the casualties of the war.
Let's make the most of the night like we're gonna die young. We're gonna die young. We're gonna die young.
This is a type of bullet used frequently during the Civil War. It was a round shape and it looked like a cone. It was made to expand under the muzzle to increase velocity. It was a little smaller than the gun bore, which made it easier to load in combat.
This time, baby, I'll be
Bayonets are sharpened pieces of steel that the men would attach to the muzzle of their rifles. 1% of all Civil War deaths were from a wound that a bayonet caused during battle. The soldiers used the bayonet more as an everyday tool around camp rather than in battle.